Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I have got two cards to share with you that I've created using the Spellbinders Stencil of the Month for April. This is called Market Berries, and wow, is it gorgeous. So I'm going to start here by taking you through the process for both of the panels that I'm creating. I have sped this up quite a bit so that it's not taking up too much of our time to get there, but I do want to show you how each of these layer together. The stencils are numbered, so you start with 1 and then work your way up to 5, and they have little notches on each corner for an A2 sized card, so you can really easily line them up. I'm using two different colorways for these cards, and I'm gonna give you the ink colors for both of them. I use the same two greens as well as brown for both of these. It's Lawn Fawn Fresh Cut Grass for the lighter green and Close to My Heart Avocado for that darker stem. I'll then pull in Lawn Fawn Walnut for our 5th stencil, which will do the dots on the berries, and this center is for our flowers. For this first panel here, my flowers, I'm using Lawn Fawn Peachy Keen, and my berries are Close to My Heart Candied Apple. For the second panel, which I'll show you in just a moment here, I am using Mint from Close to My Heart for the flowers, and I'll again pull in that Peachy Keen to create some lighter berries on this second panel. From here, I'm going to add a little music, and I'll meet you as we start putting things together for our card. So now we're ready to get started on our first card front. As you can see, that ink has now fully saturated into our paper. Those flowers are a nice peachy pink color. I have pulled in some berries that I've cut out using an older Spellbinders kit. This was the large die set from August of 2022, so you may have this sitting in your stash already. I have layered a red cardstock over a pink, and here I'm adding on some leaves for our berries. The cardstock I used is from Stamp Market Cherry Kisses, Cheeky, and Greenery. I've also pulled in from Concord and Ninth Avocado, and from Spellbinders I'll be using Truffle and Dahlia. So here I've got that truffle. We're going to trim out a 1.5-inch strip of that, stamp out our sentiment. This sentiment is from the current clear stamp and die set, which is called Fresh Packed. I'm going to stamp out this sentiment using some Versamark ink, and it reads "Hand-picked for you." And then I'll get that heat set with some fine detail white embossing powder. I really liked being able to use a dark brown on these cards. It's not a color I go to often, especially for a sentiment strip, but being able to pull that in with the seeds for our berries in the center of our flowers, it really worked very nicely. So we're going to go ahead and add some Scor-Tape to the back of this. This is 1/2-inch Scor-Tape. I'll place one at the top, one at the bottom. Make sure our edges are sealed down nice and tight. And then, of course, we'll go ahead and peel away the backing. And I'm just going to use the grid here that I'm working on to make sure this is nice and straight. Trim off the excess. And next we'll add in our berries. I decided I didn't want to use any of the leaves. They just weren't looking quite right to me. We'll pull some in on our next card. But I am going to pop these up. I'm using a thinner foam dot. I think this is only 2 millimeters. They are Spellbinders though. It's the thinnest of the Spellbinder foam dots. Just kind of laying these out, seeing how I would like them to hit. And then I decided let's take off that one foam dot just for layering, make that a little bit easier. And we'll go ahead and pop these into place. And that will finish up our first panel. We're going to create a sentiment strip exactly the same as the last one, just changing our sentiment. So we've got that truffle cardstock trimmed to 1.5 inches. And then this sentiment reads "A Fresh Hello." Again, using my fine detail white embossing powder on that. And here I remembered to film heat setting. I do let my sentiments dry for probably a good 5 to 10 minutes after I'm done heat setting them. If you work with them too quickly, they can smear, so just careful of that. Again, adding our Scor-Tape to the top and bottom of that. We want to make sure this is stuck down nice and tight. And even though you will only see these side by side in the video, I, for some reason, really wanted to make sure that these stripes were even. So we're going 3 lines up on our grid there. Now you'll see I got a little bit off there, just a sliver on the edge of my card. So I will pull out my trimmer and take off the tiniest little piece of that white cardstock. Here I've got some berries. These are opposite. I have the pink on top with the red behind, just giving us a little bit of variety. And I will pull in some of these leaves as well, just to give a little bit of a different look. We're going to glue down our leaves with some art glitter glue. Then this first larger berry, this is actually the medium size of the berries from that die set. And then of course the other one is the smaller. That one I'm going to pop up for a little bit added dimension. And you'll see I will sort of trim a little away, trim a little more away, just to make this fit the way that I would like it to. And then once I'm happy with that, we'll peel away the backing and of course press this into place. Time to get our cards made. I'm going to add some art glitter glue to the back of the first panel here. I always want to make sure I try to get glue all the way around for a nice border. And then I will line up the top fold of my card with the top of my panel and tap that to make sure everything is nice and lined up. I'll run my bone folder over the back to make sure we've got a nice, secure panel. And then for the inside, I'm going to use just a plain panel, no extra stamping, plenty of space to write a little note. We'll do the same thing with our second panel, adding glue there. And then we'll line the top of our panel with the fold at the top of our card base. Tap to make sure that's all nice and even. And then run our bone folder over the back to make sure that everything is glued down nice and tight. Finally finishing up here with one more panel, some ATG, and we'll place that on the inside of the card base. And these will complete our cards for today. Here are some close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I've used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.